Right then, so that's episode 1 out of the way. I think maybe we should just have a couple of initial thoughts. What do you think?
I think it's the Meghan show. I think
It's the Meghan show.
Yeah, Harry's been talking, but it's all about Meghan.
Yeah. I mean, similar to the trailers that we saw, it's all front-loaded with Harry and the royal family. A lot of friends are talking as well. Very much front-loaded, so I can imagine what's to come. I made a couple of notes. I mean, initially she sort of says like, "Oh, I just want to get to the other side of all of this, but I don't know what to say anymore." And that's when she took that recording when she was this would have been like way back when they first left and when they went to Canada. So this just obviously seems like it's been planned from the beginning. You know,
it's definitely been planned. They've even on the show they were saying that they've got recordings and everything from at least 2 years, which means that they've planned this and they've done royal events knowing that they're going to go and talk about it, whereas the people can't respond. The same as the first comment on the video, which was that they asked royal members to commentate and they've had no response. They know there's going to be no response.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously right at the beginning as well, they mentioned that all recordings were stopped, all like interviews were stopped to August this year, which would have been just before, we lost Her Majesty. So that seems to me like a little bit of a get out of sort of accusation charge, like everything again. It just all seems like we just want to make sure we come across as well as possible. And it's, okay, yeah.
She definitely tried to come off as well as possible. Oh, I was just going to have a hiatus. I was just going to be single. I'm just picking some roses. Here are my chickens.
Oh my goodness me. And the chicken coops back from the Oprah interview. I mean, I don't know what the thought is. It's so contrived. It's so obviously staged and everything is so placed. And I just didn't realise just how quickly it all worked out. They like to sort of present it as if this was it was just a long sort of, we had to really be careful about this. To me, she was so ready and so looking forward to when this was going to be coming out, when it would be revealed that she's his new partner. And it was so quick. And I just found it when it was the third time they'd met, and she went to stay in a tent with him in Botswana for 5 days. I'm sorry, but that's like, I don't know any person who would do that. And it felt to me that she knew that she had to do that in order to get what she wanted, ultimately.
Well, of course, and it also gave her a story, didn't it? Because the rhetoric from this whole thing, like the thing that their whole relationship seems to be based on, is paranoia and trust. So they're paranoid about something that's going to happen, yet nothing has happened. But Harry keeps mentioning that he has to protect his family. He constantly does that. And Meghan mentioned about 3 times, I trusted that he would keep me safe. He said he would keep me safe, and I trusted him to do that. So he wants to protect people, and she's playing into that rhetoric 100%.
Absolutely. It's just so controlled. And so, obviously with the Diana reference, I mean, that plays a heavy feature. And, going back to the opening credits and things like that, it's just got such a soap opera feel to it. Like a Hallmark movie or something along those lines. It just does not feel authentic at all. The creepy thing where she had the child, I don't know which one of them it was, because it probably was Archie up against the picture, and that went on for an uncomfortable amount of time for me. Oh, who's that? Is that Grandma Diana? It just seems like almost pathological, like it was something from a serial killer or something. That's probably a bit dramatic, but it just come across that way. And it's so right what you said about, I'm just picking roses. Look at how lovely and nice and sweet and everything's so lovely. And when she mentioned about, I've noticed all of the world will be making books about this. They were making books about everything. It's like, doesn't it make more sense to hear our story from us? And it's like, well, what she's seen is she's seen that there's money to be made in this. And so that's what she wanted the opportunity to partake in.
Yeah, and no one can blame her for that if she wants to make money. But the difference here is we're talking about the royal family. We're not talking about a celebrity. We're talking about something that's institutionalised and is completely a part of Britain. But something else that was interesting is for all the control she seems to have, she still slips up. So the first thing that they showed her, and you could see on her face that she was panicking that they were going to show her something that she hadn't seen, because she wouldn't have improved on it. And what if she'd slipped up? And what if she slipped up? And we now know that she did slip up, because she was in an interview and she was asked who she would prefer, William or Harry. She said Harry, but she said that she had no idea who Harry was when she met him.
Right.
An entire lie. There was also
even though she went through his Instagram.
Even though she went through his Instagram and knew exactly who he was. And then a friend messaged saying, "Oh, Prince has," and she was like, "Who's Prince has?" And that was an actual email. I believe that was an actual email, because if someone said to me Prince has, I'd be like, "Who's that?" Because there's loads of countries that have still got monarchies. But what they didn't show was the probable response, which was, "Oh, you know, Prince Harry," and then she would have known exactly who it is. A, because she admitted to going through the Instagram like you'd said, and B, because she was asked in a Cosmopolitan. Was it Cosmopolitan?
It was something like that. I think it was, the Cosmopolitan. Yeah.
She was asked in that interview if she preferred William or Harry, and she said Harry, so she knew who he was. She said after, in an interview, I think in the British press, and with Oprah, that she had no idea who she was meeting. But we know now that they met online. She knew exactly who he was. Come on.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this is it. So, I didn't like as well when it sort of rings true though. So he said at one point, "Oh, she sacrificed everything to come and be with me," and then obviously the children came along, and he's like, and then it's basically his turn to go and sacrifice everything to go and be with her in her world. So it's not their world then, that's how it's been looked at. So it's his world at first, and that sounds like a deal that's been made from her to him. "Oh, now you've got to come, look at what I've given up for you." That's like, no, I don't know if bribe's the right word. Emotional blackmail. It just feels like emotional blackmail to do something like that. "Oh, look at all I've given up for you. You know, I could have had this career." It might not have been delivered as quite as directly as that, but it made someone like Harry think, because he's clearly a sensitive guy. You can see that throughout that whole first episode. He's a sensitive guy, and she just played and just picked at the threads. His mother, the comparison there. Oh goodness, that's something I can't quite accept.
There is zero.
The class is
there is zero comparison.
Exactly. Well, the class is this. Oh, it's this great love story. It's just it's just tacky. It's just tacky. And I can't quite.
He's got a very short memory as well, because he even said things like, "Oh, you know, they wouldn't give us security. They wouldn't give us security." But he even said in that film that once Diana had left the royal family, she wasn't looked after and she had no security. That is because the royal family's security is paid by the public purse, and if you no longer remember that, they can no longer justify giving you tax money for security. So Harry knew that if him and Meghan stepped back, it would be exactly the same as his mum. They would have to fund their own security. And he said that in the video, they've both got really short-term memories.
Right. And they even used footage of Kate, who they kind of passive-aggressively attacked, but then saying, "Oh, the person who joins the family needs to fit." And it felt that came across like a huge swipe at Kate. And the footage they've used so far is of the press being swamped, which is a huge theme, even from the beginning, which we expected would be the case. And through that, they had Kate having been papped awfully, like loads of photographers. That was on her birthday, the footage they used, where she's coming out of she was in a normal job at work, leading a normal life, which Meghan never was to begin with. And so she's obviously had some element of press and how that works. And it was on her birthday, Kate Middleton. This is before she was anything royal, so she wouldn't have had that protection at all. And there's no footage of any equivalence to that featuring Meghan at all. None of it.
Well, that's another thing that he's got a short memory on, is something that he said, which is, yes, you can do deals with the press, but there's still photographers who don't abide by those deals. And yes, there will be. However, they made out like they were swamped all the time, but yet they were able to have not only a secret relationship, but they were also able to go to Botswana secretly, and for Meghan to visit all the piracies secretly. So the deals do kind of work when you want them to.
Yeah. I mean, the exceptions don't prove the rule.
No, but they conveniently don't work when you're making a multi-million-pound documentary on Netflix.
Exactly. And I just want to also know, like, what's this whole posing with the guitar thing? I mean, they did it in the picture, the image from the initial trailer that released, and then she was there and she had a guitar, and I think she maybe plucked it once. I mean, if you've got a guitar, then maybe play it, or what's the staging around that? I mean, it's a chicken coop, it's the roses, it's there, and she's holding a guitar to sort of paint a picture, and yet none of it seems real. Like, none of it. Like, for
me, they're targeting a young audience. So a young audience that travels. The only thing they've mentioned so far is travel. A younger audience that likes to discover new places and be out in nature. Almost like all these the famous people that you see that do travel blogs. They're always outside. Mm-hmm. He was feeding the animals and helping on the game reserves in Africa. They went for a trek. They went to the beach. They were out in the garden picking some roses. They were playing the guitar.
Picking.
Feeding the chickens. Cool like that. She flew commercial because she wouldn't want to be first class, because that's not down with the kids either. If you're talking about the people against climate change and stuff, that's the whole rhetoric at the moment. And I think that rhetoric is going to change into something deeper,
race-related.
I think that's very
me too. I do as well. That's my prediction for what's coming up. And it's like you said about her flying commercial. It's like she knew, and this was 3 dates in. They went to camp in Botswana. So obviously in the first parts of the relationship, July to October. You know something, you can't judge. You've had relationships that can be fly by the seat of your pants, so to speak. Some of them relationships that go really quickly. Fair enough, that can happen, of course. But if there's like an element of something to be gained from something, that should automatically inspire some, more suspicion, more sort of, being a bit more cautious. And that just doesn't seem to be the case. A lot of it does come across as love bombing. And if you might be familiar with that term, but it's literally like, oh, well, bum, 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 like, this is amazing. Look at this, narrative in this picture, like, oh, I'm just like your mum and look at what you've been through. He's got so many threads that someone could pull if they were to be so inclined, and she seems like the person to do that. She could fly a commercial because nobody knew who she was, and she did that 2-week rule. He put that straight away at the 2-week rule. Again, that's a very controlled thing. Just because someone isn't overtly controlling, there can be subtle ways to control. It can come across like, oh, I'm just being lovely and whatever, but that's quite a demanding thing to do, especially from one of the princes, of England, or of Britain, sorry. The Commonwealth.
She had to make sure that he didn't forget. But the thing about Botswana, let's not forget that this was a 3rd date, which straight away, I don't think anybody in the right mind would go for a week's camping in Botswana with somebody they'd only been on 3 dates with. But let's take a look at the first 2 dates. The first one lasted 1 hour, and the second one was a couple of more hours. So not only was this only the third date, but total time spent together was probably 4 hours at this point. And they went off to
wow, and you're gonna go. No way. You just wouldn't do that. And you can tell with Meghan, she's more of a city girl, more of a city girl, because, when she told that friend, she would have been absolutely happy to tell them, oh, it's Prince Harry. So obviously everyone knows who he is, right? And so and then they went to Bergdorf Goodman, where they usually go for their, like, catch-up and cocktails or tea or whatever I think they called it. That's a high-end sort of place. And something, I quite like the high-end stuff myself as well. I suppose it's not necessarily a defining thing. I think Diana was obviously more of a city woman than a country bumpkin. That was sort of fairly well known. But either way, for her to go to something that extreme, I don't even know if I'd go for 5 days in a camp in Botswana anyway. I'd like at least to have some, like, that's 5 days when you just met somebody. I wouldn't want someone to see me in the morning I've just met, like that. So it's just, whether it is the case or not, a lot of it's up for speculation, in my opinion, because there's so many things that I don't quite buy into. And a lot of it feels like I'm being sold something.
You're definitely being sold something. At the end of the day, the damage was done in Britain, and it is about to become very racially charged. So I'll say this now. The damage in Britain was done by the fact that they did the Oprah interview by Harry as well as Meghan for basically stabbing his family in the back, and then everything that they've done since. But we're definitely being painted a picture, and that picture is that they are young, that they know they are more relevant. The damage was done, as I said, in the UK by the Oprah interview, but Americans started to turn on her as well, especially after the podcast and what she was saying about the deal or no deal bimbos. A lot of them come out and said, look, we were never treated like that, and I'm certainly not a bimbo, etc. So this, for me, is them trying to come across as super cool, super trendy, super friendly, and trying to win back an American
audience.
Yeah, rather than a British one, for sure.
Yeah, they've got no interest in the British audience because they're relying a lot on the fact that, the people in the States aren't going to be quite as familiar with the institution, and they can sell it however they want to, because all it is really is symbols and ideas. I mean, the fact that they've got Afua Hirsch, who is a Guardian columnist, who is notoriously anti-monarchy, and a couple of people that they are speaking for them seem to have that slant on it. I think you're right when you say it's going to go down the path of the racism stuff. And just a quick note in terms of just the contradictions that she has. Both of them have them, but the contradiction in this one in particular that did jump out to me, just while we wrap up, was that she had in this, she was like, I was going to have my hiatus, she called it, even though it wasn't a hiatus. She finished filming Suits, right? So she came to the UK and said, I just wanted to go, and I had no intention of getting with anybody. I wanted to stay single, right? And that's fair enough if that's what you want to do. But literally within minutes of that happening, she had this friend that was this random friend, don't know who she is, but they were at Wimbledon and they were just chatting, and one of her friends said she pointed out a young actor chap who was sitting in the I think centre court maybe, it was, he's nice, like, he's a nice looking handsome guy. And then Meghan almost immediately says, well, I've got a date with Harry. And it's like, okay, so she says he'll be a good type. So that means she was looking for it. And like her friend at the time, Lizzie Cundy, who's like a wag, I don't even know if she's still a wag, but she's sort of on the older side of the wag situation. She said in the press that Meghan was looking for a British boyfriend back then, which verifies what that friend of hers said and refutes what Meghan was saying when she wasn't looking for somebody,
Completely, and to be honest, I don't know how much control they've had over this documentary. Obviously, a lot. But for Harry in particular to have Afua Hirsch on there, I mean, is he trying to destroy the monarchy? I guess we'll see in the episodes to come.
Yep. Stay tuned. Let's see.